Hello and welcome to TheAIbumMan, and today we're going to be talking about Megadeth's PledgeMusic campaign. So I was rather surprised when the other day Megadeth announced a PledgeMusic campaign. So a little bit of the backstory: Chris Broderick and I think Sean Drover, the drummer and lead guitarist of Megadeth, they left the band a while back. Replacing them for this album we have Chris Adler, the Lamb of God drummer and lead guitarist I've actually never heard of. And they announced they were going back into the studio. Yay, a new Megadeth album. That sounds great. Well, I mean, if it's like Super Collider, it might just be okay, but hey, if it's another Endgame, that would be pretty fantastic. And they decided they want to kind of crowd fund this project, which rung a few alarm bells. It's like, aren't Megadeth, you know, quite a old and successful band, one of the best-selling thrash bands of all time, and surely they can afford to make a record. I mean, hell, Exodus last year managed to afford to make a record with label backing. Megadeth were on a bigger label and a bigger band, and yet they need PledgeMusic to fund their stuff. So that's the first thing, and let's first just talk about, I'm going to be talking about why I generally don't support their decision to do this. And I have a bigger gripe than the original, and the one that first springs to mind: why are they doing this? But let's just start here. So do they really need it, and should PledgeMusic be used for bigger artists like this? I don't think it should, and I think it's rather, I wouldn't go as far to call it an abuse of the service, but I definitely think it's a misuse of the service. This really should be for smaller artists, and just artists who can't afford it. I'll give you a good example of an older artist who really couldn't afford it, but used it very effectively. The Crazy World of Arthur Brown, the pioneers in shock rock, who had a #1 hit single in 1968 with Fire, and no one ever really heard of since. Absolutely fantastic, one of my favourite live artists of all time. I've seen him twice, and he had a PledgeMusic for his new album, which was his first in donkey's years, and he was royally screwed over by labels and stuff back in the late 60s, and yeah, genuinely couldn't afford to make the album without fan backing. There's a small band doing a Kickstarter which I really like called The Reticent, who are a progressive metal band. They're doing a Kickstarter, and that's understandable. They're a one-man project who barely, I don't think really have ever toured outside of the one state that the guy lives in. So, but a band like Megadeth, do they really need it, or are they just trying to do this to get extra money? With a big label, I really fail to see what the need is. Surely, I believe they're on Roadrunner. I mean, surely they should be footing the bill for studio time. But at the end of the day, you could say, well, what's the harm of it? All this is really doing is it's becoming a pre-order service. You can buy the album, buy a t-shirt, maybe buy studio time, that's obviously all gone. It's a pre-order service. What's wrong with a pre-order service? Well, I'm not a massive fan of pre-orders, and I'll tell you why, particularly for a pre-order like this. Usually with pre-orders, I'm not the biggest fan because of course you don't know what you're getting, and particularly that's prevalent in the gaming industry. You know, not many demos really seem to get released nowadays, so you can't really play it. But with music, usually you can listen to a couple of songs, maybe a leak, but if we're just talking completely legit, a good couple of songs before the album, you know, before you pre-order the album, I suppose. Here, we've really had nothing, absolutely nothing of the album, not one song. For all we know, Dave Mustaine could be doing reggae music, he could be deciding to auto-tune the hell out of his voice and do some J-pop. It's unlikely, I'll grant you, but the whole point is we don't know what we're getting, we don't know what the quality is at all, we haven't even had a single, we don't know what the album cover looks like. And I don't particularly like that sort of absolute blind pre-ordering unless it's to fund an up-and-coming project that wouldn't be made without crowdfunding. And I have a feeling that Megadeth album probably could be made without crowdfunding. I'm sure they can find a label who will fund them because they're a relatively successful band, one of the most successful in metal, really, of the last 40-odd years. They've certainly got decent album sales. But if we just look at it as a pre-order service, well, they offer signed stuff, and that's how things cool, so surely the bonuses like that maybe make it worth it. Let's look at some of the prices. Let's actually look at some of the rewards that Megadeth has on offer with this service. For £10, you can get the digital download of the new album. Fair enough, £10 for an album, that's roughly standard price. I mean, that's an okay amount to pay. No problems with that. What about if I want it on CD? Because unlike me, I'm far more of a physical person. All my collections on vinyl, CD. So what about for someone like me? On CD, and this includes a download, £22. No, I'm not joking. Just for a CD, £22. I'm sorry, but what planet do we live on where a CD is £22? Oh, well, it comes with a download. Yeah, just like Amazon's auto-rip service. I bought Stephen Wilson's new album about a month back. And you know what that came with? A free download. And how much was that? Like 9, 10 quid? Because that's how much albums are. Who's going to pay £22 for an album they've had nothing of, that hasn't even been made, that's just being currently written? £22 is an exorbitant amount of money. I would honestly expect to receive one of Dave Mustaine's fingers inside the parcel for that amount of money. What about for signs though? £39. So it costs £17 extra just to put a pen in Mr. Mustaine's hand and force him to sign something. You might say, well, Megadeth don't do a lot of signed things. It's £39, but it's £39. Now, I'm someone who actually really likes signed items. I buy quite a few, and let me show you a few of the ones and how much they've costed recently. Blackberry Smoke's latest album, that was, I think, yeah, that was about 12 quid. Rival Son's latest album, signed, that was 10 quid from the label. Anathema's new album, that was from Omerch, signed by the entire band, £12.95. Opeth's latest album, Pale Communion, signed by the band, £12.95. And you expect me to pay £39? Is your signature really that valuable, Mr. Mustaine? Bloody hell. The cheek to ask people, and the thing is, people are buying it, people are feeding into this ludicrous business model. You know, with piracy on the rise, I mean, piracy is so big nowadays in music, what you need to do is you need to offer affordable prices if you really want people to buy this shit, instead of just downloading it off the Pirate Bay. Well, what about vinyl? Should we take a look? 41 quid for a vinyl. I mean, I buy some new LPs. I bought Magnum's last album last year. That cost me 15 quid. As opposed to £41. That better include postage. And signed vinyl, £65. I don't know what they're playing at. I don't know what Megadeth are doing with this PledgeMusic thing, and I wholeheartedly don't support them. And the number one reason I don't support them, it's not because they're doing a crowdfunding. It's actually just because of how ridiculously inaccessible the perks are to just the ordinary person. Who's gonna... most people can't afford, you know, 22 quid for one album. I'm sorry, that is a ridiculous amount of money. £39 for a signed album. A ludicrous amount of money. Dave Mustaine and co. Please, look at what you're doing. This is ridiculous. This is anti-consumer, anti-fan, and I just don't know what's going on. I wholeheartedly don't support this, and I suggest that you don't either. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. Are you quite as bitter and twisted as I, or are you more positive about the experience? You see it as a way to get a signed album from Megadeth for ridiculous amounts of money. I don't know, leave your thoughts, I'd love to know. Please, let's not try and be hateful. This is just one guy on the internet's opinion. Let's just have a discussion. I'm just interested in the topic. This has been TheAIbumMan. Thanks for watching, comment, subscribe, and as usual, long live rock and roll.